I think we have to be straight up about one of the disappointing parts about the raising of the $4 million, and that's the disappointing levels of participation in Malibu schools. And I'm not quite sure where to go, but I guess where I want to start is by saying that I've thought about it a lot, and I truly believe that the values that underlie this policy change are really values that are widely shared in both Malibu and Santa Monica, and yet Malibu families have chosen, by and large, not to participate. It's in all of our interests that Malibu participation increases dramatically in the coming years, starting with this coming year. And I think we all know that the Ed Foundation, the PTAs, the superintendent, others worked their tails off, but have simply not been as successful as we need to be. To me, if I reduce the vision for student success to a simple statement, it's about ensuring that all students who attend schools in our district, which is a public school district, are provided with an equitable educational experience of the highest quality during the school day, and that all teachers, regardless of where they teach, receive the same high level of professional development opportunities. And then I guess the corollary to that, which I think is embodied in the particular programs that will be provided for, is that staffing and program decisions should be research-based rather than just the way we've always done them. And I just have to believe that those of you who are sitting here now and others in Malibu would agree with those statements. And yet that hasn't translated into participation. So I think we need to really get behind the reasons for that. I also want to say that I think that a necessary component to increasing Malibu participation, and some of you may argue with me, but I believe it involves decoupling the move for Malibu to become a separate district from withholding participation in VSS. I think that's really a misconception. I think those of you who are true believers in Malibu separation know that we are looking, we are exploring, we are trying to find out the answers to the complicated legal and fiscal questions that underlie whether that can occur. They're practical questions on top of the legal and fiscal questions. And I think we all know that even if, and assuming that Malibu becomes its own district, it's going to be a long time. It's going to be many years before that can happen. And so during those years, I have to believe that most parents in Malibu really want the highest quality of education for their kids and for all of the kids in the district that they're in, whether that district is SMMUSD or MUSD. So I really feel like we have to get behind that, and I want to say that I don't think the board can do that alone. I think we need partners from you who are active in AMPS, you who are leaders in AMPS, and I would say perhaps even from some other opinion leaders, Malibu City Council members. But we need those of you who really lead in this community to help us, I think, decouple those two issues, because I don't think they're going to be taken apart by us alone. And I also think that we need to dispel this sort of notion that's out there that this is really a policy that's about wealth redistribution. I think, if anything, when you look at the numbers here and the participation levels, and even if we were to split out the amounts that have been donated by school, if anything, what we see is the opposite of that fear. And I mean, we can't be in a district where a school like Will Rogers gives more than point due, to be completely candid about it. That just doesn't make any sense.
You know, the big elephant in the room is the non-participation of the schools in Malibu. Had they participated, we definitely would have hit the $4 million mark. Not an issue for me at all. We would have hit that mark. So I think at one point we have to come to the point where we have to agree to disagree and say we're going to move forward with a great plan for the benefit of all our students in this district. And I think that this is what I think my colleagues and myself are moving towards, that make sure that we are supporting all of our students here. And despite what other political agendas might be between the two cities, that we are a unified school district. And for me, this is going to be my main highlight of being on this board, that we're able to move this for all our students in this district. There was some contemplation in myself personally, and under this, I wouldn't want to expand that, the raising of an additional $80,000 per school site because we didn't raise that mark. I think that it kind of defeats the purpose of us having moving forward to do this, the district-wide fundraising initiative forward, and so I don't think I would want to contemplate putting in that piece into this recommendation. For me, I guess I don't know. The feeling is a majority of us are against even adding the additional 80,000 to allow, I guess, the schools to raise an additional 80,000. Is that the feel that I'm getting from the board? Once we get, yeah.
I mean, I do agree with some of the things that were said, I think, by other speakers about how we didn't get there, and there would be a lot of confusion. And I mean, I'd go further. I'd say if you do look at the participation levels, and I don't have the dollar amounts attributable to each school, but if you look at the participation levels alone, I think it's probably fair to say that, for instance, it's easiest to single out Point Doom because they had the lowest participation, and because we all know that they've had the greatest numerical dollar participation in the past in terms of fundraising. So it seems to me that it's just not, it's completely not in keeping with what we're trying to do, to say you don't even have to raise $80,000 or anything towards the overall vision, and then, but you can go raise the $80,000 yourself, because I think that does lend to confusion and to what I think Joan Krennick was talking about, that if schools all over do start to try to raise that money, let's say they all were able to, that's, in the elementary schools alone, that's $800,000 that we could have had.
You know, I agree with Jose that when you have a policy, I think it'd be very difficult for us to change the rules right now. I think it probably is a bad idea. I will say that as we, perhaps now, probably not now, but as we move forward, one thing to consider would be some sort of match mechanism whereby a certain threshold having been met by a school would allow for a certain amount of fundraising. But what makes this so difficult, this argument that we're hearing right now, is particularly coming from the school. I mean, what was the total Point Doom, total money raised from Point Doom? Okay, so it was like 1% participation. That's the very school that's asking. Okay. And I'm having, I guess I'm having trouble for me, there's a little bit of a major dissonance here. That if there'd been sort of a really good faith attempt made at that campus, I would be understanding a little bit more about where this argument is coming from. And I guess I'm having trouble squaring the numbers I have and the message that I'm getting. That's part of what I'm struggling with here. I certainly, want to find a way that we can, incentivize giving, and I mean that's going to be. I mean that's really, I think, the critical goal moving forward. I certainly don't think that changing the rules now, given the participation this year, is the right thing to do.